First off, I want to say all of you have done a wonderful job with this show, and Jason, thank you for having the courage to follow through with an idea that I'm sure many of us think of ridiculous ideas and never leave our house. But I don't have a very profound question because I want to keep the mystique of the show. So, what I think about when I'm sitting on the couch is there's a lot of references to smoking. So, how much of the writing and the duration and continuing of the show is influenced under the influence? Does that make sense?
I can honestly state that not a single writer was high in the writers' room while we wrote this show. A bunch of the writers are here, by the way. They should stand up because they're great. Stand up, guys. I don't even know where you guys are, but look around. Steve Gronkowski in the back. Let's see. There you go.
I think one has a question.
Oh, one has a
One of the writers.
It's easy to write trippy stuff. What's hard is to get it on the air, and I can't say enough good things about FX since I guess effectively I just ordered a second season of my own show. But they never once asked us to tone that down or not do that. And the show isn't about pot, but it is best enjoyed while under the influence, I think.
I'm a little curious if those tag scenes that have sort of started to evolve over the course of the season, where it's just every episode ends with a bunch of disconnected scenes of Wilfred and Ryan getting baked and getting into trouble. Where did that come from? Was that part of the Australian show, or?
Yeah, and we made a signature thing that I didn't want to get tied into it, but people really enjoyed them, and they generally thought they were improvised and stuff. So we try and keep those loose and more often than not related to the plot. Yeah, they're fun. Oh, but we shot. How many did we shoot that night? About. Oh man. There's still a bunch that aren't in the show that are sitting there like that are really funny.
Yeah, we have a few banked.
Oh, do we have some banked?
No, we don't have a few banked.
Oh, no, they won't. I'm left. Never mind.
Hi, my name's Matt. Actually, this will hopefully omit me from being stoned by the rest of the audience, but this was the first episode I've ever actually seen.
Stone him!
It was good, 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 it was good.
You wouldn't be the only guy you're stoned, I'm sure.
But actually, my question was in regards to the breed of dog that Wilfred is. I mean, I haven't seen anything past this episode. I mean, I was wondering, is there any sort of deep-rooted, psychological traits, or as Elijah's character sees in Wilfred, that will be explained as to what kind of dog he is later on as the series progresses, or is it just sort of just a random breed that just because Jason fit the dog suit?
It's like Wilfred always makes whatever's convenient at the time to get his way. Like he claims to be 1/16th dingo because it's kind of sexy and indigenous. But he's a bit of everything.
He's an Australian Shepherd.
I thought he was a lab.
Well, he's kind of blue as well. So have a bit of blue healer in him.
He's a lab, isn't he?
So is he?
He's an asshole.
So is he a lab or anything specific?
I think the kind of dog Wilfred is probably less significant than almost anything else about him.
Thank you for feeding my question.
But I will say that I think there's probably a reason he has an Australian accent, and
Okay.
that will probably be revealed at some point.
Okay, well, thank you, and I will continue watching. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi. I remembered earlier you guys mentioned that there's going to be a possibly season 2. Is there any plan of ever kind of hitting a critical point where you'll end this series, or is it just we're going to keep going and keep doing what we want to do?
Forever.
Forever, like The Simpsons.
God.
I don't like The Simpsons.
If we're all doing this in 25 years, something's very, very wrong with America. I think that this is a high concept show, and high concept shows generally have a limited lifespan. I don't think we have an end point in mind, but if this show could run 5 years, 6 years, I think we'd all be very, very satisfied and would bring it to a very satisfying conclusion.
I think we'd all be satisfied too. Thank you.
Yay!
Hi. My question's for Elijah. I wanted to know if you've ever had a pet or a friend like Wilfred, and if so, has the experience ever influenced how Ryan deals with him?
I've had pets, yeah. I've had dogs. I've not had any dog quite like Wilfred though. Nor have I had any imaginary friends. I feel like I totally missed out on that imaginary friend thing.
What about that cat you had that ate out the giraffe? The stuffed giraffe. When you were a kid? What? Sense recall, dude.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I don't think anything really in my life could prepare me for this show and the ridiculousness that we take part in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Although, rascal.
My question is for Elijah. I absolutely adore your work.
Thank you.
You're an awesome actor.
Thanks.
I wanted to know what actually grabbed your attention from the show to do the role that you're as.
You mean from the original show?
Both.
Oh, okay. Well, I think, reading the script and falling in love with the pilot and the conceit of the idea of the show, and then ultimately seeing, the thing about the original, even though I still haven't seen an entire episode, I was really intrigued by the tone of it. It's a very dark tone. We don't necessarily have that tone. We've gone a different direction that I love equally, if not more, but I was intrigued by something that could be on television and be that inexplicable. And I think that's something that we do share with the original, and something I still love is that there are things about it that are not explainable and that are inexplicable. And I found that very attractive and very interesting. I like things that are not easily described or explained and kind of sit in some neither region and allow us all to somehow enjoy it.
Thank you.
Hi. I was wondering, my question for Jason is, how do you interpret what Wilfred does when he has a shovel in his hand or is sitting at a table eating nachos? What's your interpretation of that?
Yeah, that is a good question. I think that, for me, when I do it, I think of Wilfred as being a human stuck in a dog's body. And there are a lot of dogs that are spoiled ridiculously, who think they're human and are kind of confronted when they see other real dogs because it freaks them out. Because that's what my motivation and behind what I do. So I just basically articulate in a human form what dog behavior. Someone's said, oh, how far can you take a joke of the dog, shitting and doing this? When dogs stop doing that, I'll stop, making fun of it. Dogs are funny.
The part of your question that I love as well is the notion of, because that shovel was actually an interesting thing. What was it, the shovel or the axe? I remember Wilfred breaks through my backyard gate with an axe, and in the line of dialogue, you say something about I say, give me the axe, but I couldn't actually take the axe from you. Remember that? Because if I took the axe from you, then the axe would exist. And that's actually where some of the rules come into play, and I fucking love that shit. I honestly didn't even think of it, and David, you were there and you were like, no, you can't take the axe. I was like, why? I was like, because then the axe would exist. And I'm like, oh, that's right. Oh, the book. Guys, that's a metaphor, dudes.
Keep up.
That's what he doesn't like about that question. Just made a fool of him. Get out.
I will say, by the way, whoever asked that question, you're adorable. I will say that there's a lot of thought put into these scripts and to these moments in the show that play very quickly on screen. Jason and I and the other writers spent a lot of time thinking about what's really happening and what's in Ryan's head, maybe what's Wilfred's actually doing, and a lot of what I think about this show is that it's a bit of a puzzle, and we're giving little clues as we go along. So, and Randall puts in small little touches, and that also contributes to solving this mystery. So I would just say pay very close attention and buy the DVDs and watch them many times.
So there's in fact a complex Wilfred mythology that we're just not aware of yet.
There is actually.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Todd. I was just wondering, do you guys do a lot of ad-libbing during the comedy scenes?
Very little. We don't have much time. I mean, as Elijah said, we shot 13 episodes in 10 weeks, and we have, like, with ads, not half an hour anyhow. And so we do what kind of most actors do when we're rehearsing it, and we kind of will refine it. If something's not working, we'll tweak it, or we'll get the writers to give us some options. But we've done it a couple of times, but generally we don't have time.
Okay, thanks.
We'd like to do it more. Actually, we did this thing. We did one of those marketing things, which was the smoking one. And Wilfred walks off, and you're saying how. What is he saying?
I catch Wilfred behind a tree.
You'll
find him smoking.
Yeah, and the sketch that was written ended when I got up on Elijah's line. But as we walked off, we just had this banter that went back and forward. And it made it in, and I was like, well, that was really funny, and like it'd be. And we didn't have much time writing this series this season, but it'd be good to have more time to be able to play. It'd be fun to play around with a bit of improvisation.
Part of the issue with improvisation on the show too is the stories are so complex that we had some episodes where we had to cut 7 minutes of material, and when you're talking about a 21-minute show, that's a lot of material to cut. So a lot of time there's a lot of stuff we just couldn't use because there just wasn't time in the episode. And improv sometimes takes up more time than you have time for.
It's also actually a tricky show in editing because most television shows there's an A story, a B story, and a C story, and you can make decisions based upon, okay, we can cut out a little bit of B, bring the show to time, but so much of the show, these are all integral building blocks, so if you're pulling something out, you're probably pulling out an important piece of the puzzle. So it's kind of a tricky show to bring to time sometimes.
Robbie,